Okay, welcome everyone. Thank you for being here. This is the Brand Power Hour. Today is April 27th. I'm excited to introduce to you Hannah, who is our guest expert, guest speaker for today. But before we get started, just wanted to welcome you here. If we haven't met already, just introduce myself. My name is Mallika. I am the brand CEO. I am a brand strategist. I'm a niche specialist and mentor. I'm working with female entrepreneurs just like yourselves, women who struggle with standing out in their marketplace. So what I do with them is I help them strengthen their message. I help them find their power niche and really build that brand empire so that they become the go-to expert in their marketplace. I work with Cindy and Lisa. Both of them are in what my core offer is, which is the Brand Breakthrough Mastermind. That is the way that I work with my clients in helping them build really magnetic and powerful brands. So today, this is a format that we do at Brand Power Hour. It's a free virtual event. I invite speakers to come in, or I do a training, usually one or two a month. And we have a schedule. I just wanted to share with you what's kind of coming up next so that you can mark your calendars in case you wanted to join. So May 11th will be our next one. And it's with Marissa Brawny, and she's going to be talking about why you need to focus on press and what you need to prepare. And she is actually a TV personality down in New Jersey. She actually does a lot of work with QVC and has a partnership with Cuisinart. So she really knows publicity and press and how to be visible in front of the camera. So that's going to be a great session. All of this is free. All of this is virtual. So I'm hoping that you'll join us for that. And then in June 8th at 11 o'clock, same time, same place, same Zoom link, Jill Lisi, who has been one of my clients for almost a year now. She is a web designer, and she's going to talk about scaling with impact, how to boost your brand online with the know, like, and trust factor. And then I think I have one more I'll share with you, which is July 13th, which feels like forever from now, but it's going to happen in a minute. And it's with a woman, her name is Sydney Chase. She actually lives on the West Coast, but we were in a mastermind together, and she's going to talk about Reels 101. So if you feel like you struggle with Reels on social media, she's going to be doing a masterclass, how to love and grow from Reels. I know I'm very comfortable with stories, but when it comes to Reels, it takes me a long time to do it. So anything I can learn to quicken the pace of that and learn some tools to make it feel easy, I'm all in. So wanted to bring that to you guys as well. So today we are here with Hannah, and we're going to be talking about how to say no without guilt. So just a show of hands, how many of you guys, myself included, have trouble sometimes saying no to opportunities or clients? Yep, to your family, all of us, right? So she's going to be talking about how to say no and to create some healthy boundaries. But a little bit about Hannah. So Hannah is the founder and president of New Approaches based in Falmouth and Brunswick, Maine. She works with small business owners and other professionals around burnout prevention, boundaries, leadership, and self-worth. She's the creator of Compassionate Leaders, a coaching program for the next generation of inspired, caring, and effective leaders. She runs two signature programs for CEI, the Self-Worth Club, and Boundaries for a Thriving Business. I actually didn't know you worked with CEI because I work with CEI too. So we are partners in that. And so I always love to share how I meet the speakers and how I build my network. So as many of you know, I moved to Maine 3 years ago, and I'm always trying to build the local network. And I think I found Hannah on Instagram and started to stalk her, follow her, like her posts. And I just really loved how she talks about leadership and how to avoid burnout. And there is so much overlap, even though I'm in branding, there is overlap. And so I reached out to her to try to connect. And then the next thing I knew, we were both in this meeting for women standing together in a Zoom meeting. And I was like, oh my God, I have a call with you tomorrow. Because I had tried to set up a call with her. And so now here she is as a guest expert in my community. So grateful, Hannah, to have you here. Thank you so much for sharing your expertise. I'm going to give the floor to you.
Okay, great. Thanks, Mallika. I really appreciate it. I don't know. It's delightful to be here. Actually, I do know a couple of folks here, so it's really nice and it's great to meet new people as well. Did we want to go around and do introductions, and then I'll launch into our topic?
Yes, thank
today.
you for
Yeah.
reminding me. So we're going to do a
Yeah.
round robin of introductions and just quickly share your name, what your business is, and what you're hoping to learn and gain from today. So let's go. I don't know if Erica, you can join. I think you said you are not on camera, but we'll go Alana and then Cindy and then Maura and then Lisa.
Okay, I guess I'll start. Hi, everybody. My name is Alona, and I am the photographer with Anoki Art Photography. I specialize in, excuse me, wedding and portrait photography, based here in Portland, Maine. I was actually based in Los Angeles for 11 years, and 2 years ago, me and my husband and our dog, Max, moved here, and we love it here. We have family here, so it was a great transition. And as far as the topic, I definitely have problems saying no to clients, especially since I was new to the area. I was trying to build my name here and taking any clients, like anybody who would contact me. And then I realized that I'm actually not targeting my preferred clients that I would like to build here, because I've done this in LA. I built the company in LA, and now starting kind of from zero in a new place. Well, it's not really from zero because I already have the portfolio and experience, but yeah, I definitely want to learn how to be more mindful about picking the clients that would be my perfect clients and saying no to the ones that I feel wouldn't be a good fit. So thank you for this.
Awesome. Cindy.
Hi, I'm Cindy Prince. My business is Luhu, and we're based in Camden, Maine. We make wool pet toys and wool dryer balls. And in general, I feel very confident about saying no, but I could always use more help because every once in a while things sneak in and I'll end up saying yes, and I later regret it.
Yes. Maura, welcome.
There we go. Hi, my name is Maura Reardon, and I live in East Booth Bay. I moved here 3 years ago too. So I'm pretty new to here, getting to meet people. And Hannah, I'm in Hannah's course, the self-worth course, which is amazing. And also in the class, the branding class with you. So I have a business. I'm a mediator right now, but I'm trying to start a new business as a divorce coach, helping women recover from betrayal trauma. My business is called Divorce Blessings, and my goal is to help women move on and find a new life, when they weren't anticipating ever being in this position of being divorced. So that's where I am. And saying no, I have a really hard time saying no to my children. I have 4 sons. I have a really hard time, just a people pleaser. And I'm trying really hard to not be a people pleaser. And saying no to people trying to sell me things, or, like anything, like I just have a hard time in general saying no, because I don't want to hurt people's feelings, but then I get mad at myself. So please help me.
We've all been there, Maura. Totally relate. Thanks for coming here today. Lisa, you are next.
Hello, hi Hannah, nice to see you again. So I'm Lisa Hanscom. I co-own and manage the family farm that's been in my family for over 110 years, but it's been a farm since 1798. And we specialize, of course, in Maine wild blueberries, products, agritourism, rental cabins, tours, and stuff like that. And I have been taking these courses with Hannah, like setting boundaries or self-worth and even in branding. And it's always been part of the discussion, no matter what group I'm in, about me doing too much. I am slowly uh, gaining control over all of that. But it's always, thank you, but it's always good to keep learning more about how to say no, and keep that kind of at the top of, right at the forefront when I'm thinking about things. So.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And Erica is not able to contribute right now, but she's just listening.
Sounds good. Thank you. Thanks for being here. And, like it is, saying no is a process. So I should just like disclaimer, it's not like it's, I talk about this stuff all the time, like every single day, and it's not always easy. It's not always easy for me. So one of my mantras is just because it's hard doesn't mean you're doing it wrong. So it's okay if this feels hard. First of all, it feels hard for me. But we're showing up to this topic, and I think it's actually really brave, and I find it's really effective to do it like together, because it's really hard to be on our own with this. So thank you for being here. So I'm just really excited. I'm always really excited to talk about saying no, which is kind of funny. So you will get a handout at the end, and so you'll have all this information. So if there's something helpful in these slides that you like, don't worry, you'll get them later as well. So here's what I hope that we can do today. So here's what I really heard kind of the things that you wanted to take from today. Here's where we're going with it, and you can really, hopefully there's room for you to make it your own too. So we're going to talk about why no is honest and kind. And if we really start to internalize that again and again and again, that can help with the guilt. So we're really trying to tackle the guilt of saying no, because it is actually honest. If you never say no, you're a liar. I hate to say that, but it's true, right? I think actually, Mara, you're nodding. I think this conversation we had in another group. I'm going to give you some guiding questions. So sometimes it's figuring out, well, what is a yes for me and what is a no? And you may want to focus on your business. You may want to kind of focus on your personal life. You can do either one of those with these guiding questions. And then I want to give you like 3 tips for saying no that help kind of set you up with like a little script that you can use again and again and again. So I find if you have those words ready to go, they're going to come out much more easily, especially if you have some support, like thinking back on this group today, with a handout, phone a friend. We do this together. So when we don't say no, we can end up not prioritizing ourselves, or B, the things that we care about, like our values and our priorities. So not saying no puts us at some risks, right? Our success with our business, not being as joyful, feeling resentful in relationships. So there are some real downsides to always saying yes. I want us to take a minute and think about, so if you have somewhere to write it, or you can even just reflect, that's totally fine. Are there things that you say, and this could be business, this could be your personal life, are there things that you say are important? Like, okay, for me, like working on my website, I say it's important. It's been on my to-do list for weeks, right? So the things that I'm saying, they're not getting to. Maybe I say, oh, it's really important to exercise, but I'm not doing it. What are your things that actually matter to you as a person or you as a business that you're not getting to? So I'm going to be quiet. I'm going to let you just reflect or write down a list in a 1-minute brainstorm. I had plenty of things on my list, even though I do this every day, right? That's good. I like to do this along with. So another minute of brainstorming. So this is a list of things that, so maybe reflect on this week so far. What are the things that are actually taking up your time? More time than you intended. Things that aren't maybe serving you or your priorities. It could be like, oh, I had a potential client just take up 3 hours and then they didn't become a client. Like, you know, I let a family member complain to me for an hour and that wasn't really my intended use of my time. It could be, I'm just giving you some examples. What over this last week took up more time and space than was helpful to you or that you would have liked it to take up? Did you volunteer for something? Do you have any yes regrets? Just make a list, anything you can think of. Does anyone want to share anything either from their first or second lists? Oh yeah, thank you, Mallika, for yours.
Yeah, I'll share.
Yeah,
For my first list, I mean, I'm always trying to spend more one-on-one time with my husband, with each of my sons, right? Like, but instead it just, we spend time together, but as a group. But I know, like, I have 2 boys that are growing up, and it's, you know, two that are going to college that I'm like holding on so tight, and I know I want that time, but it doesn't happen. They're busy or I'm busy. Also kind of want time by myself, to be honest, like without everybody, you know, kind of going for a walk and just feeling like I can just be by myself. But that's
yes.
never happened as well. And then I mentioned in the chat here, like part 2 of this, just looking at my calendar, I feel like I have so many Zooms and I probably don't need that many Zooms. I might need to be better with minimizing the Zoom because that screen fatigue is a real thing. And then I've been working on some workbooks in Canva, which is a little bit out of my area of genius. And if anyone's in Canva, you just get sucked in and you're just kind of like in design mode forever. So those are a few things from my end.
Love it. And right, and just in 2 minutes of like giving ourselves some time to think about like what is important to me that I'm not like making space for. Time for myself, yes. Just like alone time, yes. That one-on like quality time, right? We don't always, because there's no like prompts to think about it. I wouldn't say normally, like, what do you care? No one's being like, what do you care about doing with your time today? Right. So that's nice to take this time. Does anybody else want to share or feel inspired from Mallika? Inspired some things that helped me get in touch with some of my priorities too. Thank you.
Don't be shy, guys.
It's okay. It's okay. Yeah. We can keep going, but you might want to share as we go. So like, how do we decide in our life what's a yes and what's a no? Because these are even moment by moment decisions, right? Like, do I continue to work? Do I, you know, spend some time? Do I go walk my dog? I'm always walking my dog, big priority. So I came up with some guiding questions. So this you might think about as like, all right, someone asks you for like an opportunity with your business, or maybe it's a family member or friend asking you, could be an invitation, it could be request. So here are just some questions that can help you, I think, kind of whatever the question is, whatever you're being asked to do. And these are in your handout if you like any of these. I think for small business owners thinking about this one too. Does this opportunity support my priorities? But people have a lot of ideas about what we should do, what products we should make, right? How we should do our business based on what they want. How does it serve your priorities? That's a guiding question, right? Do I have that space to commit? Any of these stand out to you, or ones that you like? Have you used any of these in your kind of decision-making process?
I mean, for me, I love this. How will I feel afterward? I feel like I need to ask myself that before I say yes to anything, because often you do it, you're in it, and then you're just so upset. And that feeling can be so big that it makes you, like, I just remember, especially during my photography days, when I would say yes to something that just wasn't what I wanted to do, and all the time and the editing, I would like want to shoot myself afterwards. So that's like a good guiding question to ask yourself before you commit to anything.
Yeah, because I think we have an idea. Like, how am I going to feel about it? Like, I probably can project into the future to be like, is this process something that I'm really going to enjoy? Is this, Alana was sharing about, taking the photography clients that maybe weren't the right fit, right? How's that feel? It doesn't, right? It's not aligned. And it just takes something out of us. I think it's super draining. But when we say yes to the things that are aligned, that feels so different. I'm just seeing maybe some overlaps with branding, right? Like, how do we really represent or find our niche? And that means saying no.
I have a good example of the similar situation. Is I spent probably 4 hours talking to a potential client, and when she contacted me, I immediately had a gut feeling that something is wrong with the energy and the inquiry. But I said, no, I need clients. So I talked to her once. Then I had another Zoom call with her for an hour. Then she disappeared for like a week and a half. I followed up, and then she actually told me that she was going to book somebody else, but they're taking their time. Could she talk to me again and ask me some questions? So I said yes. And she took another half an hour of my day complaining to me about this other photographer that she's taking time. And I was like, oh my God. So yeah, it definitely feels true. But I had that gut feeling, and I don't know why I didn't go with it.
I don't think we're taught to or given permission to. Maybe a great add on to this is like, what's the energy feel like? Because like that is felt and that is real. And it's real information, because you're taking in all kinds of information that you don't know how to name necessarily. And that's why we have those gut feelings, is right. We're reading body language. We're hearing tone and words. Like, we're taking that all as real information. It's not magical. So trusting our bodies to tell us if this is a good fit, just based on how it feels, I think is super smart. That's how I roll, right? I know how something feels, and I trust that as really valid information. I don't think we're taught to do that. I think we're taught to like use our brain. But your brain is part of this process, is taking in that information that lets you know how the energy feels. So I would say it's really rich. And so we need permission. I think women need permission to see that as valid. I think there's lots of ways that can go awry. So I think we need processes to like check ourselves. So we know what our biases are. Do we know, like maybe what our triggers are? But I think if we have that feeling, it can really give us pause in a way that can be really hopeful. Yeah, you knew.
Hannah, I have an example. It's not really saying yes or no, but it's just something I'd like to be able to say no to. I go to get my nails done at the salon, and it's like my little oasis, like my respite. You know what I mean? Like, it's the only spa thing I do. And I like to have that time to just relax and chat with my manicurist. But the woman who owns the shop, every time I go in there, she asks me for legal advice about her son and the custody of his child and the divorce and all this stuff. So I'm like, I'm here, a paying customer. You know, like
Yes.
I just want to relax and enjoy and unwind.
Yeah.
I don't want to be working. And
For free.
and for-
Yeah.
yeah, and I don't really mind. She doesn't really listen to the advice. I guess she
Yeah,
doesn't like
right. It's
she
not
doesn't
effective
like
anyway. Yeah.
she doesn't like to hear what I have to say, and I don't give her real anything, real legal advice. I'll just say general things because, it's not my place. And but how do I get her to stop doing this to me? It's like I
Okay,
want
right. So how do you say no to that, right? So what are some
right,
words? Yeah, so it could be like, hey, this is, I need to protect my peace and not have these conversations.
mhm. And I've
Or
even
be like, hey, I'm off the clock.
right.
Here's maybe you could bring in another name, write on a post-it note and be like, I wrote down a couple names for you. Like that's A, generous, but B, like that's another way to say no, which is like, I'm not the person for you, and this is not
Right.
the time for me.
And
Right? I'm not the person for you, and this is not the time to engage me this way.
and he has his own attorney. She just wants to know, she wants to find ways around what the attorney's saying, like so that he doesn't have to give his ex money. And I'm like, no, he has to. It's the law. Like there's
People
no,
don't like it. Yeah, it's too
yeah,
bad.
she just wants, well, if they sell their house, can't he get it all because he paid for it? He was working. I'm like, no, that's not the way it works, But it's just very, I feel like if I say no, then I'm, if I don't give her information, then I'm being rude or mean. But in actual fact, she's the one that's being rude by.
She's being so rude, and also a terrible way to run a business, right? Yeah. Does anybody have any words of advice from Maura? I think it's a great question.
Yeah, I think this situation happens to a lot of us, right? It's people who are trying to pick your brain for free information. And so the good news is that obviously she sees you as an expert, so that's great, right? But I think I've had this issue a lot, and in the beginning I wanted to be very generous, but then it takes up time. And so I've learned to try to reframe it a little bit and be like, I would be so happy to help you. If you go to my website, you could sign up for a session and pay a fee. And that way we could properly actually go through your case, your brand and your situation. And that's the best way to work with me. So I'm just redirecting them in a way that's hopefully positive, but shows that I have my own self-worth, that they need to show some respect. And that if they want to go through the proper channel, they need to sign up, they need to pay. And that's end of story.
But Mara doesn't even do this anymore, right? This is not even, right? Like, this is not how you work with people. So I think you could just say, like, I don't do this work, right? So yes, if it is work you do, I love, like, yes, go through the process, right? Sign up for the time. But if it's not work you do, I think it's okay to say, that's not work. That's not work I do. I don't have that to give, right? Like, it sounds like you already have someone.
Right.
Yeah, but like you're the customer, right? So I think you're always thinking about the role. My role here is the customer, right? My role here is, yes, a potential expert. How do I get people to the right spot? But whatever your role is, I think if the person doesn't like what you're saying, we're going to talk about this, but the person doesn't like what you say, that's not your business. That's nothing to do with you. I would say no one is so entitled that they don't have to feel something, right? So if we say something honest, then they have a feeling about it. Like, that's just being a human, right? We're not here to walk around protecting everyone's, or managing everyone's feelings. That's each individual's job. I think. That's my.
True.
So here, like, kind of the gut response, kind of, Alana, you were so good to share that example, right? Which is like someone taking time and time and time and time for you. So am I saying yes because I'm afraid, right? I'm afraid if I don't have this client, I won't have enough money, or I won't get more clients, or I'm afraid they won't like me, so I'm saying yes. Or is it like I love yes, like this is yes, I want to show up for this person. Yes, I want to work with this person, right? Yes, I want to contribute. I want to volunteer. Like this matters to me, right? So saying where you say yes, is it coming from a place of like love, joy, enthusiasm, or is it coming from a like a protective, fearful place? Just checking in with ourselves about that. I'm not saying that you would never say yes, even if it's about fear. I think we should know, right? I think we should know that we're doing that. We should know what's going on and think about how to be self-protective. Yeah. So we're thinking about like what we want to spend time doing, right? What our priorities are and what we're what's draining us, what's taking up our time. Are there thoughts on like what gets in the way? So maybe it's about how people feel. So kind of thinking back to our list. I have a list too, right? There's things that I want to be doing more of, things that I've been doing that I don't want to be doing as much. But are there some reasons that we can think of? Is it hard to give ourselves permission? Is it hard to put ourselves first? Is it hard to say no?
Guilt comes into it, like my sons will call and just unload and all their stress on me, and they don't even want to hear what I'm saying in response. It's just and they'll talk to me for hours, and it's just, I think to myself, if I don't talk to them, no one will talk to them, because they don't talk to their father. So I'm the only parent that they have to talk to, and so there's that guilt I have, so I end up feeling really drained after the conversation, and it has not been beneficial for anybody, and I just want
Okay,
to.
so it's a lot of energy out without necessarily a good result, even though
Right.
those are relationships you care about, yes.
Mm-hmm.
But like, is it really, is it effective? Is it effective actually for your sons too? Do they need other ways to begin to cope and process?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I've found them all therapists now, and they'll say, they need to go to the therapist more than once a week. So and one of them actually says to me, I use you as my therapist when, I don't have and I'm like, I understand you are feeling bad, but they don't listen to my advice. They just want to.
No, they're not good. Moms have no advice. It turns out it really doesn't matter. You can be an actual expert. No, it doesn't matter. Right? Yeah.
Exactly.
So here's another thing, like that's kind of a no. It's like a version of a no. It's a boundary, which is to not be so to not respond when people are in a state of urgency, because their urgency, you don't always have to meet that. So you might sometimes, if it's a situation like Mara is describing, you can meet them with like, I call it validating non-urgency. So instead of answering the phone, maybe you see them call, you say, hey, I don't have time to talk right now. Like, I hope you're, why don't you, hang on till I can talk to you later, whatever you want to say, but like, hey, I care about you. And maybe what they need is more time to sit with their feelings.
Right.
Instead of wearing you out. And we don't always need an audience for our feelings. I mean, sometimes we do, right? But like, validating non-urgency, right? Like, oh, I can see that you're really upset, hey, why don't you try a couple things and we'll get back together again. I'll check in with you in a couple hours or whatever. That's a way to have a boundary. It's not a no, but it's kind of a redirection.
That's good.
being able to say no, or to have that limit, or like do that redirection is a way to honor kind of what you need. Because it turns out we're the only people who can meet or we're the most effective way to meet a need is to meet our own need. So if we can at least do that, otherwise we're gonna put that onto somebody else to meet our need, right? So we should actually, if we can role model, hey, I need to go for a walk right now, right? I need to get to bed. If we're role modeling that, then we're teaching other people, hey, think about and meet your own needs. I think it's just like, I think it's a leadership quality, right? To be able to prioritize what we need. That's not to say people are in, they might have urgency and an actual crisis. Okay, maybe that's a little different. It's different that happens once every 10 years versus once every 10 minutes. But yes, there's times we're going to drop everything and show up for people. That's true, right? But maybe that's not our default for every day, every person, all the time, right? So it's a range here. So what does it mean for you? How can you be self-responsible? How can you take your needs into account to make sure you're meeting them? Because if we don't, then we become vulnerable to doing things to try to get other people to validate our feelings for us. It's a very inefficient system, right? Something to think about. So I believe that if you're asked a question, right? If you're offered opportunity, an invitation, a job, whatever, like your responsibility is to answer back in a way that's honest, like represents yourself. It's not your job to think about how to manage that other person's feelings. Now, I'm all for being compassionate, being kind, being respectful. Like sometimes we say things people don't want to hear. But that's like part of being a human. People have to be able to go out into the world and hear things they don't want to hear. Maybe that's good. So yes, we are honest, represent, be effective. How people perceive that, how they feel about it, we are not. That's their work. So here's I'm going through this fast because I want to be able to kind of workshop a few situations like we're doing. So saying no when you mean it can be, kind, honest, and self-responsible. Instead of saying yes and then it not going well, and then it usually creates a lot of I don't know, bad energy. Right? I want us to kind of think about saying no, like the actual words. So I have this in your handout. Let's think about your list that you made. Is there a place that there's something where you maybe need to say no, right? Like a Zoom meeting that you want to be prepared to say no to, or a certain kind of work, right? I used to do this kind of work or make this kind of product. Now I have to be prepared to say no. I'm not going to do that anymore. Maybe it's with an employee. Maybe it's just with a family member. It doesn't have to be about your business. I just want you to think about a specific situation. If you don't have one, I'll have you just practice with an invitation to something you don't want to do. We all get an invitation we don't want to say yes to. So you can use that as an example. Can anybody already think of a situation that you want to workshop today that's about to get to a clearer no? Anybody want to share? Help us. It's great if there's something coming up where you think you might be asked to do something. Oh, do you want to volunteer for this thing? Do you want to be on this board? Do you want to go to this party? Do you want to chaperone this field trip at your kid's school? I do actually. I'm going to say yes to that one. Any thoughts?
I can share something. So I was just in a situation on a podcast, had an interview, went well. And then at the end, I didn't realize there was going to be a pitch for me to join her program. Usually when I'm on a podcast, it's an exchange, you share information. It's like it's like if I invited you to this and then I'm going to pitch you to join my program. So she did a strong pitch for me afterwards, after listening to, the content I shared in the podcast. And it was kind of clever, listening to what I said and then using that as an invitation to her program, which is fine. Maybe that's how her lead generation is, but it made me a little uncomfortable because I wasn't expecting that. I've never really been put in that situation. Wasn't interested in joining her program, but didn't know, because she had invited me to her podcast, I almost felt that I had to entertain the idea because she had been doing me a favor to invite me to her podcast. So I said more like, I would like to think about it, even though inside I was like, this is a hard no. But I didn't know. I didn't want to feel ungrateful, right? Because she invited me. And so it was a little sticky, I have to say.
That's great. Well, not great that happened. That sounds really icky and sticky. Right? That's not putting people. Yeah, that sounds really difficult. But I think it's an example that we could totally workshop, come up with some examples of you're in this give and take relationship, but it's a hard no, right? And or you're in a give and take one situation. How can you say no without while still expressing gratitude? I think, right? I'm grateful for this piece and this part, so no, right? I had someone apply for a job. They gave me a compliment about something I did, but then their application just wasn't quality, right? So I wrote I did the honest thing, and I was like, hey, thank you, and I appreciate it, and I'm not inviting you for an interview, and here's why, but here's how I would encourage you to apply again, and here's something that would help you be a stronger applicant, right? So it's okay to have that no, even if someone's kind of handing you a win or a compliment or an opportunity as well. I think it's hard. I think that's a hard one. Does anybody have another example as we're talking about something you want to be able to say no to? Like I said, you can use a generic example, like declining invitation, declining a candidate for a job.
I'm building my website, and the designer, every time I talk to this person, he tries to add on and oversell me stuff. And every time I think I've paid for my last payment, it's like, oh, well, you need to do this, and and it's like, I'm not LL Bean. I'm not going to have 5 million people coming a day. It's just a coaching website. I don't need all of that. But just to say no is really hard for me. I don't know why. And I've been saying no lately. I'll just say no, I'm not paying any more money. I don't have that right now. And but just that pressure, I feel like if I say no, they're not going to do as good a job, or they're not going to like me, or just all those things.
Hard. Yeah.
But
they're putting you in that situation, right? Like the podcasters being Mallika in that situation, right? That's not, you're the customer, right? I want you to workshop the next no, because it's coming, right? You're gonna have to say no again. So let's think about a no, and I want us to each come up with a little script. So I'm gonna give you I wrote rules, but some guidelines on how you want to say no to the invitation that doesn't work, to the customer that doesn't work, to the upsell, oversell, it's not working for you. So part of this is don't use a lot of words. Keep it short. So why do you think I promote that? Why keep it short? Any thoughts?
So that you don't sound wishy-washy. You're just, this is a hard no, and just keep it simple and uncomplicated.
Yeah, because people
I
don't
think it
know that you're
also-
saying no. Yeah, go ahead.
I was gonna say, I also think the longer you keep saying it, the more likely you can talk yourself into doing it. So just keep it short and sweet, and then, you know,
It's funny how we keep talking and open a door for somebody, right? Well, maybe this, or like, oh, but not right now, or I don't have that money right now, right? Like, oh wait, we just opened a door, right? Yeah, Lisa, great point. Yeah, and people are sometimes confused, right? It's clarity comes from fewer words. So, yeah, I mean, you can just say no, thank you, or no, that won't work for me. At the very simplest request, those are really okay, right? If a stranger at the group, you know, do you want to donate $1 to blah, blah, blah? It's okay to say, no, thank you. You don't need to explain that you donated to something else and blah, blah, blah. Like, we can keep it simple and move forward. Sometimes it's a little more complicated. There is some kind of relationship. We'll talk about that. When you're saying no, it's important not to apologize. Okay, apologies are great if you need, you know, if we've done something intentionally or unintentionally and we want to repair a relationship. But to say no, right, to an offer, to a service, to an invitation is not a time to apologize, I don't think. Does anybody have any thoughts on this, or why apologies could be problematic?
Well, I think when you apologize, it sounds like you've done something wrong. So
Yes.
you're not doing anything wrong. You're just, it's not a good fit. And it's, I do this a lot. I'm always like, thank you, but.
Yeah, thank you. The
almost
thank you. Yes, is a great.
to
Yeah.
crutch a little bit instead of just being like, this is not a good fit right now for me.
Yeah.
End of story, period.
Yes, great. That's a great no. It's not a good fit. It doesn't, you know, align with what I'm working on right now. Whatever. All those are great lines, little scripts to have. Yeah, because that sorry indicates that you might be able to be guilted. So you open a door there too.
I have an example. I'm working on being better at saying no to my repeat clients who ask for discounts or who expect pricing that I had 5 years ago. And at first, like, I try to raise my prices a little bit every year because I have more experience and
Mhm.
all that stuff. But it used to be very hard for me to not say, like, yeah, sorry, my prices are a little higher now, but you know, I don't know, like, I would find some kind of excuse. But so I'm working on being better at that and just being like, I'm more experienced, you know, so I shouldn't be apologetic about it.
Right. You could just say, yo, I'm going to send you my 2023 price sheet.
Yeah.
Like, everything costs more now. Everything costs more. Right? Like,
Yeah.
everyone had to raise their prices or they probably didn't stay in business, right?
Which makes me so confused when people don't understand that and they're like, they're like, what? You raised your prices?
Yes. Yes, I did. Yes. 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 I feel like we shouldn't, God, it'd be hard to even think about why you have to explain that. But I think just saying yes, I did. Yes. You and every other successful business owner we had to, right? So, you know, that's not going to work for me. So sorry, I can't, or, right. No, those aren't the current prices. My 2023 prices, or if you're booking a wedding ahead, right? My 2024 season's rates are X. Every photographer that I've talked with has raised their rates every year. So you don't have to just be like, no, you can use other kinds of words. So for example, validation, right? Letting people know that you understand, like Mallika, you gave a great example in the beginning, which was like, hey, I'm really like to help you, right? Or like, thank you for thinking of me. Here's how you can engage me. Or thank you for thinking of me. This isn't the kind of work that I'm doing at this time, but I can give you a couple other names, right? So those are very, that validation of like, hey, like it means something to me that you're asking me. That's great. Honoring that doesn't have to come from saying yes, right? It can just be to use those words. Like, hey, like you thought of me and I appreciate it. Like I know that there's a need for volunteers, but I don't have that bandwidth to contribute. Right? Like I appreciate the work you're doing on the board. I'm gonna take a smaller role to start. Whatever it is that, I'm thinking of things that I was asked to do that aren't a yes for me right now. So that validation is helpful, or just, you can even say your good intention, which is like, hey, it's really important that I have time to show up for my family right now. So if you're in a close relationship, that's nice, right? Or I'm building my business right now, or whatever it is. I want you to kind of think about your no for a minute. So you don't have to do this, but I'd love for you to give it a try so we could share a few examples before we jump off the call. Can you think of how you want to say your no based on these 3 kind of guidelines, ideas? I wrote rules just I really want to sound like some authority. So I'm just going to give you a minute. Does anybody, why don't I give you a minute, see if you can craft a little response, a little no script that you can take, whether it would be, the next person someone pitches something you don't want to do, the next time, you're asked to give free advice or an invitation you want to say no to. All right, I'm going to be quiet for a minute, let you write something down if you'd like. Anybody? I know I didn't give you very much time there, but if you're formulating one, you want to put it in the chat. I'm going to put an example in the chat of a no that I sometimes use. Here's an example of a no, just depending on what you work on, right? Or your community, or the kinds of invitations or opportunities. Like I said, I know there's a big need and I'm not available, but I do have a couple of resources I can share. So I do a lot of work to connect and know people, right? Or to know about different resources. That's the way I can give without having to do things myself. So sometimes a no is still an opportunity to be of service, just in a way that works better for you. I think, okay. And I want to thank you for yours. So thank you for your interest in my photography. It doesn't look like I'm going to be available for your shoot, but here's a list of photographers I can recommend. I think that's so awesome and generous, right? Does anybody else have a no that you want to either say out loud or put in the chat? Those are great. Do you notice they're short? They sound like kind. Oh, thank you. That's not something I need right now. I appreciate you telling me about it. Brilliant, right? I think that sounds awesome. Do you think you can say it? Yeah. Didn't it sound great when I said it? This sounds super. Nailed it. All right.
They're just so persuasive, though. They're salesmen, and that's what they're supposed to be
Yeah.
doing. But yeah.
You too salesy. Too salesy, right? It's not okay. I want to just leave you with this little quote by Oprah. Says, what I know for sure is that speaking your truth is the most powerful tool we all have. And I really believe that, I'm going to skip this part, that no, when we mean it, is like this most basic act of truth telling. So when you are able to really represent and stand in your truth, I think that's just a really positive thing, not just that's for you, but I think it's part of a positive culture shift, particularly I think for women business owners. Yeah. That's what I have. Probably if you want to get a hold of me, it would be good for me to give you that information. Maybe Mallika will follow up with that in her in her email.
We can add your website or whatever information you can send to me. I'll be sure to put it in.
Right.
The follow-up with the recording and the handout. So when you send me the handout, send me all of that information.
I will do that. Yes.
But this has been great. Thank you so much for, sharing some tips and strategies for us to feel more empowered, right? And just to be able to stand in the know so that we protect our energy, we set boundaries. And I think, like you said, it's truth telling, but also for me, this is about confidence building. When you get to say no, you really start believing in yourself and you're building that confidence muscle. So this has been,
Yes.
thank you.
Yes, thank you. Thanks so much. Thanks for being here, everyone.
Yeah, thank you all for being here. You will be getting follow-up email. And if you're interested in the next Brand Power Hour, you'll also get alerted to that. That will be next month. So hope to see you guys again. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful rest of your day.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank
Hannah.
you so
Bye,
much.
everybody. Take care.